as the Excel model or the financial model in Excel. So I'm using this one as a base to explain everything, but when you watching this video, you might want to open the Excel file from Regina directly, and make sure you save the files on your desktop before you play with that. Okay, so let's start from the coffee shop. Okay, so the first two pages are the coffee shop, and then last two pages is the 3D printing. And for coffee shop, I start from the capacity planning. Okay, this is critical because I need to know what can I produce with the limited resource. We oftentimes when you solve the textbook example, they sometimes give you assumption which is unreasonable, but that's be real in this case. So first of all, regarding the work hour, we are talking about 8 hours a day, okay, 40 hours per week, which is 5 days, and then 200 hours. We are looking at, here's the assumption, you are looking at 25 days per month work day, so you have 200 hours in a sense, okay, but we are looking at the utilization. This is something we start talking about that in the last video. Means what? That means you are not going to do 100%, okay, using 100% of time to do all the productions, because for coffee shop you might need to do cleaning from time to time. So we're assuming that 85%, and of course you can change this one, okay, the amount of time available for you to do the value adding process will be much less. So from 85%, we are looking at 170 hours per person per person per month. Okay. Now, time needed to brew a pot of coffee. This is the coffee maker one. Okay. It's a continuation from week 12, I think, or week 12. No, at the beginning of the project. Okay. So we did an experiment, and we are using the coffee maker I purchased for the class, and it's about 16 minutes for a 12 cups pot. So that is the base numbers we use. Okay, that's a cycle time in a sense. But think about this one. This is similar to how long does it take for you to using 3D printer to print a part. In this case, this is 12 cups, and then you need 16 minutes. So by comparing these numbers, okay, with how many hours? 170 hours times 60 divided by 16, you will be able to produce this. But remember, when you do production, especially in the field of manufacturing, whether you are printing things or installing things or manufacturing things, you will have scrap. So we are making an assumption. We're trying to be as real as possible. It's not 100% going to be able to, we can sell 100% of them. Okay, 1 cup per 12 cup. Sometimes the machine operate might not be precise. Okay, sometimes you pour a little bit too much, you pour a little bit too less, then more or less you probably every 1 cup out of 12 cups you would have 1 cup of scrap. And that 1 cup of scrap is not something you can sell, right? Less than 1 cup, so you want to dump it. So by doing that, okay, maximum number of cup per month, okay, this is what from this to here. So we are looking at times 11, because instead of 12 cups, now you only have 11 cups. That's our capacity. That's the maximum we can produce every month. This is the max production. Okay. Now, when you look at the total cost, 2 parts. Remember, direct material, direct labor. And remember we have two operators, one in the front end, the other one at the back end, right? And in addition to the coffee grounds, so we have a calculation of coffee grounds. Okay, how much do we need based on the number of cup we can produce? Okay, and then but this is a rough estimation. Of course, you may argue, say, okay, not all the bags we can produce integer numbers, but because we already incorporate like a 1 cup per pot scrap rate, so for now we're just assuming the rest of them will be able to sell it 100%. Okay, from there, you also need to know the filter. How many times? 637.5 filter, because that's how many pots you're going to do. Okay, and not all the filters are good, so 90% are good, so we need more than that, more than 637, 638. This is what, 709. Okay, and we got a number like this in filter, just a filter. So from here to here, this is the scrap rate. Okay, the filter might not be good, or your installation was not appropriate, so it doesn't work. Now take a look at phone cup. Okay, that is based on what I purchased from Walmart. So when we did the experiment last semester, we get those numbers. We can assume 90% of phone cups are in good shape, because it's a cheap one, so it's not every one of them is usable. We will get this is the cost for the phone cups and the cap as well. All right, and then we would have flavor of cream, and we are assuming 1/3 of the customer will use cream and sugar. Okay, and we did not provide sugar over here because we do flavored cream, so it's very sweet, put in that way. Okay, so at the end we can get the material cost is about this amount. Remember, I did not put anything over here, so if you put something over here, you get a higher price. Okay, this is the direct materials. Now let's take a look at direct labor. The brewer will work for 200 hours. You may argue, it's not 200 hours, it's 170 hours. No, because this is the amount of money you had to pay. Okay, utilization rate is 85%, but this is the dollar amount you have to pay. So it's $2,400. Okay, and what are we looking at? Once we add it up all together, we would have the labor cost is 34 cents per cup. Okay, right now what you see over here is the brewer. We only have one person, so one person coffee shop. Okay, you are not looking at the cashier and the brewer, because when you were doing when your coffee maker doing brewing, you would do the transaction and in the same time. That's the same idea when we describe in the 3D printing part. You set up, use a quarter of time to set it up, and the other 3/4 you use to clean up the parts print out. Now we have indirect costs. Okay, you are looking at indirect costs, including the rent, the facility, the electricity, water and sewage, and the cleaning fees. Okay, all those numbers are assumptions, but it's based on our realization. Okay, how much it would cost in a business operation. You also have equipment, and how do we know what equipment to include? This is based on your 5 plus 1M. So this is 5 plus 1M. Okay, one of the M is a manpower, that's the direct labor, but the other manpower are down here, non-production staff. So of course we can cut it down, right? Don't have to pay that many people, and that would save us some money. But cashier is over here. Okay, we have a cashier over here. This is one person operation. Okay, the cashier is over here. We're paying a rate like 10 hours. It's non-productive, so it was not included in the calculation of the direct labor. However, you can argue in this way, because what we sell is not a product, but service. Okay, in that case, your cashier will move to the direct labor, because he or she is the one providing service, interacting with the customer. Okay, then your non-production staff will be less. We have equipment ownership, and here we bring in the depreciation. Okay, this is a depreciation. So you can take a look at how we calculate depreciation, and we are using the, what do you call, the straight line. You can use more complicated one, like a decline balancing or unit of production. Okay, unit of production will be similar to what you have over here. The decline balancing is okay based on your assumption. But that's how the cost center for print shop or for machine shop create. And you can use to estimate when people ask you to stop by and create a service, like installing how many wireless access point and so on. So once you have all of those, you have a total cost like this amount. Okay, and this amount will be divided by the total amount of cup you can sell. Okay, that would be this amount, about 7,000 cups. So once you divide it, you get the number like this. And this is what the minimum amount of price you need to sell. Okay, minimum amount, the dollar amount you need to sell. And of course, you can go higher. Okay, and as you can see over here, we have a lot of extra costs over here. Okay, our coffee machine is super cheap, but what if we can have two coffee machines doing together, and then we increase the amount of cup produced? And can we cut down the amount of staff? Okay, we don't need a secretary and the purchaser or manager. That they can be just one. Okay, so in a sense, you are using your you have to cover your indirect costs. The lower your indirect cost is, the lower your price can go. Okay, because a variable cost is pretty much the same. So let me write it down. Variable cost is the same. Lower indirect costs or fixed costs lower price per item. That's not the right term. Sales price, item price. Okay, so I would encourage you spend time to play with this model, change the number, and you will see how the whole spreadsheet was built. And based on the same token, okay, I developed another one which is for 3D printing. And as you can see over here, some of those things are, you probably saw that in last week's spreadsheets. Okay, now we are using one of scenario as example. We are using one person set up, the other person do cleanup, and the line is balanced because we do this. Okay, and the printing parameter is 0.6 meter nozzle, 15% fill rate, 0.35 layer heights, and so on. The parts weights, this is what we need because we need to know the amount of material we need. 9 printers, okay, because that's what we do over here. 9 setup. That is based on the cycle time per print. Okay, so that is what we are looking at. Now let's take a look at the capacity planning. Instead of 8 hours, we are doing 9 hours. Okay, instead of 25 days, we are doing 22 days. So we are looking at 198 hours per month. Your utilization rate is 100%. This is the what? This is the best case scenarios, which means your operator just keep working. But in reality, you will be less likely like that, and you don't want to push to that far. Okay, so whatever you come out, your cost will be higher. That means your sales price will be higher. In this case, we are calculating the minimum, the bare minimum. How far can we go in terms of cost? Now the scrap rate is 1 per every 12 hooks. We will have 1. This is also assumption. Okay. But when you look at the QCOK date, that means what? That means out of 54, 4.5 hooks will be scrapped, right? That means you can only sell 49 of them, because 5.4, that means what? That is why 5 hooks, and that's the reason it's 49. This is some of them are manual calculated, okay? But once you have that, okay, 49 times 22, that's the total amount of hooks per month you can produce with this setup. Okay, with this setup. If you change your line design, then that will be different. For example, if you are printing 3 parts in a single setup. Okay. Now, the filaments come in spools. Okay, per spool, and we are using the kilograms or 1,000 grams of filament that we can produce 28.5, and in a sense, it's like 26. No, 28. It's not 28.5. You can scratch this part. Okay. So when you interpret that, that would be different. But your financial model, you want to keep those. And each one of them costs you $26. And that's the market price right now. Material cost is using that to divide it. Then you get the material cost is $1. And that is pretty much the same as what we have on the spreadsheet itself. Okay. And the other one is what? The month. With that, we can, because we know the amount of hooks we need to produce, we'll be able to know the monthly consumption rate. Remember, the scrap materials also need to be considered. What does that mean? Instead of say, okay, we only produce this amount, 1078, we have to do 54 times 22. Which is equal to many of them. 58 times 22. 54 times 22. That is 1188. This is the amount of item we produce, but only 1078 hooks we can sell it. Okay, because 1 out of 12 is scrap. Okay, so the amount over here is used to produce this amount, and that's how much it costs. Similarly, okay, assuming we are using a plastic bag to put the parts first and then before put into the box. Okay, so you have the cost over here based on your production rate, and of course you have the scrap rate as well. So if you change those numbers, the dollar amount would change. So play with that, okay? And we'll need this amount per month. Okay. And glue sticks is used to set up the printer. Okay. And then when we add up total together, that is the amount we get. And right now I'm assuming $120 shipping cost. Direct labor comes from the print operator. I'm paying that higher price because I need to have certain knowledge. Cleaner or packer is $12. Okay, so the direct labor is this amount. Facility usage is this amount, and then equipment ownership. This is mainly on the depreciation of 3D printer. Remember, it's 9 of them. Okay, 3D printer, hand tools, furnitures, and also operation cost. Okay, 9 printers. Alright. Non-production staffing. I'm saying, okay, I only have a shop owner and only working 25% part-time. I give myself $20 per hour, so that's the dollar amount. When I add it up all together, and then we'll get the individual parts, about $9.63. Of course, okay, you can including how can you reduce this amount? That's what I'm trying to say. How can you reduce the price or the total cost itself? Okay, when you look at this one, the 3D printing's depreciation, 3D printer, even if you increase the amount of 3D printer, the depreciation is not going to change. The cost of hand tool is probably the same. The furniture is probably the same. Okay, maybe you need another shelf. Okay, the operation cost is probably the same. The rent is very likely the same. Electricity maybe have a spike, like $600. Okay, water, sewage, and so on. So by playing with this one, this is the 3D printing financial model. You should be able to get a dollar amount, get the ideas. Okay, and this is the price, and you can say, okay, I want to make $1 per piece. Okay, so you sell it for like $10.60 or even $11 or $12, then you have a profit. Okay, so I would just stop over here. Encourage you to play it and play around with the two models, and then see if you understand that. So for the project itself, we'll just give you two more scenarios, and then one is 3 parts, and the other one is single part using ABS. So ask you to derive the financial model, and then tell me, okay, how much it will cost, minimum cost. Okay, how much you need to sell your product. All right.